Welcome to the Big Biz Show. Taking care of business. You want fast-talking, hard-hitting discussions on business and finance? Maybe with a barroom slant and some really salty peanuts? We're not counting calories. We're counting cash. Before we get to the man with the financial plan, meet the money team. Costa, Mary, and Greg. Now Captain Finance himself, Sully.
Wherever you are watching, wherever you are listening, as we like to say in these parts, a big old howdy to ya. It is the Big Biz Show. Thanks for being along for the ride today.
T-shirts made, but says that on there, I think.
Well, here's the good thing. When you're standing behind here, Sully, not with us at the moment. He will be back later on in the show. But when you're standing here, you basically have the con. You're sailing the ship. You're driving the sub, and I'm going to say a big old howdy to you as many times as I want. Before we go any further, let's say a big old howdy to you to the Day Trader Trio. Gentlemen, how are you?
Hey.
Coming up later on the show today, we're going to be speaking with a woman by the name of Mary Wilkins-Smith. And check out the name of this book that she has written. Author of Decoding Your Emotional Blueprint, a powerful guide to transformation through disentangling multi-generational patterns. And she's basically written a book on understanding your money DNA. Like, generationally, I guess it gets passed down.
Like how we relate to money.
Pretty much.
What our relationship is with money, I guess, right? And it's pretty fascinating stuff, actually.
Were your mom and dad, like, super tight with money? Were they loose with money? Were they, it's kind of, I don't know, how do you paint?
I wouldn't say either way,
okay.
One or the other. I think they were tighter because of when they grew up, and neither one of them had any money, and but I wouldn't necessarily say they were frugal necessarily.
Gotcha.
But they didn't overspend. They weren't frivolous with their money at all. It was middle of the road. But I have an interesting. I don't I don't buy Gucci and a lot of big things, name brands.
Right.
But I'll shop just to satisfy like a dopamine rush.
Oh.
Like, I really want that. If I'm in a bad day. I mean, retail therapy is very real.
Yeah.
It helps, right? Yeah. You feel me?
That's real.
Trace, will you just buy something just to make yourself feel good?
It depends. If we're talking gear, yeah.
Brian, you'll buy now musical instruments for Mr. Jordan there? Okay. James?
I'm the most conservative.
God bless you.
I will not spend a penny.
But then he'll buy donuts for the whole crew.
Which we will consume.
And which we will consume.
In a heartbeat.
What's my donut DNA, I want to know.
Yeah.
That's something to investigate.
My dad came from an East Coast mafia family, so they had tons of money, Of course, they had to bump people off for it, but hey, money's money.
Interesting.
My mom was a Nebraska dirt farmer. I mean, nothing. We're talking cutting the cardboard out to slip into their shoes when their shoes got a hole in the bottom of them.
Oh, yeah.
A dress was passed down, through every
My mom reused cutlery, like plastic plates.
Oh, yeah.
At tailgate. We should gather them all up and wash them and reuse them again.
And that's the generation that probably all of our parents were from. You were very frugal, and you were very fiscally conservative.
Did you have an Eggman or a dry cleaner that came to the house? Or
no.
No, we had like I was thinking about that. We had a milkman, we had the Eggman, we had the Fuller brush man, we had the dry cleaner, we had.
Oh yeah,
it's crazy.
No, Trace, I remember we had the milkman dropped milk off. The concept of going to the grocery store to buy your milk.
How old are you?
No.
Leave it to Beaver, right?
Thank you, pretty much. 60 years old. So
I don't think that didn't happen in my.
Oh my God, you missed out.
I guess so.
Eggman and Milkman?
No, that was not a thing.
Oh my God. All right, listen, we've got a big show coming your way today, as I mentioned. Mary Wilkins-Smith writing about money DNA.
Love it.
And how it's passed down. We're also going to
Howie
visit.
knows about that.
Great guy to ask.
Yeah.
We'll visit with our market analyst, Howie Font, as the Big Biz Show rolls on. Keep it here. The big show rolls on inside the Loft 100 studios. Costa and Marybird Godwin with you. Sully will be back here, standing where I am in just a second. Of course, those guys up on stage, the very extremely talented Day Trader Trio. Best in the business, as we like to say.
Hey, there it is.
Boom, nailed it.
Nailed it.
You know, I think it's the blind squirrel, the nut, the whole 9 yards. You practice it and screw it up enough, you're eventually going to get it correct. Want to talk with Howie Font?
I do.
Our market analyst,
Absolutely.
Howie Font, joins us right now.
Bring it on.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hey, Howie.
What's up, brother? Welcome to another
Howie.
edition. Hi, Howie.
Hi, Howie. It's a little loosey-goosey around here today because it's just,
It is. But it is another edition of
I'm
None Your Business. How you been, my friend?
good. When I hear you say "big old howdy to you," one, I love it. Don't ever change.
I won't.
It reminds me of like a spoof of Star Trek. You know, the captain of each Star Trek show has their catchphrase. So you're behind the bar right now. I can see you, sit down, and Picard goes engage, and you just go, "Big old howdy to you," and they go to warp speed.
Here come the Klingons. A big old howdy to you, Klingons. Kind of like that. Okay. Hey, talk about the what's going on with the prediction markets and the sports poly markets?
Poly markets.
Mary,
What is
know
that?
about as well?
Yeah, we haven't visited with Polymarket, any of the prediction market sites since the election. I thought it'd be a good time to revisit because they're gaining so much popularity and so much money is flowing into them that they're actually getting better and better. So something I wanted to talk with Mike specifically about was, sports betting has overtaken politics in 2025 as the most popular category on all these sites, all the major ones. And they're actually right. A little more than 70% of the time, their favorites are correct. So I want to see if that was unexpected, if that matches what you're seeing on FanDuel or any of these other just sports betting.
Yeah.
But on Polymarket, we've talked about it before. You can bet on anything. I mean, they're talking about how many tweets Elon Musk is going to post before the end of the month, when we're going to have a pope, where he's from, all that stuff.
Who creates the categories on here?
Yeah, so you can propose them and they get voted on, and then the Polymarket team will try and set them up. And then I know even partnerships that people do. So brands can partner with Kalshi's another one, or in this case, Polymarket. And the prediction site sets the parameters. They define what winning the bet is. So, what authority you're going to use to count Elon's tweets, or, it's going to be based off a Vatican press release, like when the next pope is. So there has to be some official organizing principle, and Polymarket handles all that for you.
Can you bet on who's going to be the next American Idol?
I'm sure. If that's not a category, it should be soon.
It should be.
Yeah.
I haven't watched the season, but
That's all I'm thinking about, I'll be honest with you.
I just like the reality show.
I see that the great Pietro Parolin he's the leader in the clubhouse as far as being the next pope is concerned. I mean, currently we're in the 9 days of mourning officially, and then we go to conclave, and then they start voting on the next big guy.
So much fun. I love that there's a way to financialize this, and
I'm sure God approves.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, they're going to do the white smoke, and there's the voting right now. But I just think it's interesting that we know, we have statistical models that people are using to bet, and we know an approximate day and, which guy it's going to be. I think I looked before the show. I can't see it now, but there's like a 44% chance that we're going to have an Italian pope. There's other people in the race. To me, it's a pretty funny way to use such a powerful system.
Well, you talked about the odds, and it's amazing. And I'm somebody who plays daily fantasy sports during the NFL season. And, it's, hey, Howie Font, is he going to throw for more than 275.5 yards in this game, over or under? And it amazes me that the odds makers, more oftentimes than not, they always hit that friggin' line. I mean, it's and I guess it's why Vegas the lights stay on in Vegas, and all the things that happen in Vegas, it just amazes me how close they are and how on the dot they are every single time when it comes to odds.
Yeah, I mean, the market makers, in this case, Polymarket, but FanDuel, all of them, are supposed to try and keep themselves market neutral. They don't want to be losing money. They just want to take a little spread. They're not betting either way, technically. So it is impressive that they can be so right and that, math is that effective. But I just thought if you saw that it was odd. Polymarket's actually come out and said, based on our data, one of the most profitable times you can bet on sports is 6 hours or so before the game.
Yeah.
And that's when betting on underdogs can be profitable. Does this match normal sports betting? I really wanted to.
The thing with normal sports betting is that that injury report is so important, especially the injury report the morning of. And a lot of times when teams go out onto the field to warm up, what they will do is somebody who's kind of, are they going to play or not, will the trainers will be looking at him, and then like this last minute addition will be, now Howie Font, his knee did not respond to the early morning workout or the warm-up period. He's not going to play today. And then a lot of times you have 10 minutes, 5 minutes to either change a bet, lock in a bet based on that information.
Oh, interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oof.
Hey, on this Polymarket vision that I'm looking at, where it says like 6 million volume or something, that's how much money is in the pot right now, or what is that?
Yeah, so the markets work best when they're liquid, and liquid means there's enough money that you can go in on either side of the bet, and there's someone to take it with you. So 6 million is, for one bet is how much on both sides of the bet are being bet.
Wow.
Total. So that's what the $6 million means, and that's kind of a lot for just a random. I mean, these are all kind of short-term bets if you look at the site.
Wow.
Howie, I'm sure it's also a lot of people that are thinking, hey, wait, I have a good chance of predicting this correctly and making some easy money. Maybe that's why you have the number. Howie, I know that they've got the Prime Minister of Canada on there. Is it Carney, 99%? It looks like he's going to be the guy over, what is it?
Yeah, I mean,
Olivier?
so that's done. So that's reverted to, a 0 or 1, a yes or no, right?
Okay.
So that's why it's 99%. But then the interesting thing is, that now it's immediately a 66% chance of Polyev, the conservative leader,
Yes.
Being booted from his job, which is not surprising, but it just shows you Polymarket's a good tool for saying, there's a 1/3 chance he sticks around. Then you have to think, okay, how does that happen? Is that a likely scenario? Here's why I think that's wrong, and then I can bet against it and make some money. I mean, I think it's pretty cool. And I also think you can get kind of faster insight. We talked about this during the election, but they don't work like polls. A poll will tell you, the election's going to be a 51-49 race, so this person will win. But it'll try and give you the actual percentage that people are going to vote. This is just saying, what do you think the net result's going to be? And so you see a lot more, 20% and 80% extreme numbers than you would when you're just measuring votes, for example.
I mean, there's good money to be made in the Poland presidential election if you got some coins burning a hole in your pocket. Howie Font is our market analyst here on the Big Biz Show. Howie, I know when Sully gets back, we'll get into it a little more in depth as far as how our markets here in the United States are doing and whatnot. But is tariff talk still the talk of the day in the U.S.?
Yeah, I think we're kind of bored of it. The market's fairly. There was some tariff relief from the president this morning. He said, auto parts, as we've talked about, are such a big part of a lot of the Rust Belt and a lot of the kind of blue collar economy. And those were given some more tariff relief today. So that was a good sign. But markets are still flat. Amazon actually was going to do a thing where they showed you when you checked out what the tariff you were paying was.
Yeah.
The White House came out and said that was a hostile and political act, and the stock was way down.
Did Bezos walk it back?
They walked it back. Yeah.
Yeah, just concentrate on Blue Origin, whatever the hell the name of the rocket is, and let us just enjoy our peace of mind.
I really think we should have that so everyone can see it. Every website should do that.
Well, listen, I mean, it's more information, right? I mean, if you go to a restaurant, a lot of people don't like being nickel and dimed and seeing service fee, tax,
great point,
handling fee, all that.
Howie, always love it. Talk to you in a little bit, buddy. Appreciate it. That's our market analyst, Howie Font. All right, keep it here. Lots more to come as the Big Biz Show continues.
Is that it? We got more? Or are we done?
We're done. Big Biz Show continues live from the Loft 100 studios here in Southern California. Those guys on the stage, of course, that is the DTT, the Day Trader Trio.
Best in the business.
Best in the business, no lessons, self-taught. Let me see if I can do this. Yes.
Kind of did it.
That was my bad.
Yeah, Trace wasn't with you on that.
I thought you were gonna do 2. So I mean, like.
Oh, you're right.
He did a week one.
It's normally 2.
It's usually.
And I did 1.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I misread.
Nice
Casa,
work.
Mary Godwin with you. Sully stepped out, had to go to the eye doctor again. His eye fell out. So hopefully we will have him back here with us in just a second. But it gives you and I the opportunity to talk about some money DNA.
This is really interesting stuff, I got to tell you, because I feel like I'm going to relate to this a lot.
Yeah, because I'll be completely honest with you. My money DNA is screwed up. It's like I was born in front of a microwave oven that worked with the door open. So my DNA as far as money is concerned is completely scrambled. We are lucky to have Judy Wilkins-Smith with us. She's the author of Decoding Your Emotional Blueprint, a powerful guide to transformation through disentangling multi-generational patterns.
Wow, that's a mouthful. But
that is a lot to put on a t-shirt. We are glad that she is here with us today. Judy Wilkins-Smith, how are you? Welcome to the Big Biz Show.
I am great. How are you?
We are doing really well. Help me understand my money DNA and what we're talking about here.
So I love that you said it was scrambled. So what we're going to do is unscramble some of that.
Okay.
Okay, so you know that you inherit your physical DNA. Yes. Everybody knows that. But what they don't realize is that you also inherit your money DNA or your emotional DNA, your patterns of thoughts, feelings, and actions. And in money's case, it's your patterns of thoughts, feelings, and actions around money. So what did mom and dad think about money? What did your grandparents think about money? Are there money events in your life? Because here's the deal. If it doesn't matter how much you may want money consciously, if you have that underlying pattern and it's subconsciously playing around with you, you are going nowhere. You're going to be loyal to Uncle Joe who lost it all and you're going down the tubes. So you really want to understand it. And then, of course, we have what we call meta money DNA, which is how the world sees it. And we grow up being taught it's love or money, it's ethics or money, it's everything or money. And money is actually an and, not an or. So that's a little bit about your money DNA.
Do you think some of it is nature versus nurture in that you might inherit it genetically, but also, which is probably tied to how you're raised, but you know, if you have a parent that maybe was an alcoholic or some sort of, you saw a lot of waste in that way, right. And that makes you fearful about money. And so you're seeing it in the nature sense, right? And nurture sense, both, a combination of both.
You're seeing both, and it is a combination of both. You can inherit it epigenetically. In other words, what happens is there's an event, and if there's a strong enough emotional component to that, it creates an impact, and that creates an imprint on your genetic genome. And it's the expression of the genes that is affected. So that's the one way. The other way is, I saw grandfather do it, I saw dad do it, I saw me do it, oops, now it's my turn. Or you can look at that and go, and this is where we see people do it differently. I am not going to go through that same thing that you did. I'm doing it differently. So you have somebody in your family who's an alcoholic, and so there's waste, and you look at that and go, so much waste, and suddenly nobody can understand why you're Scrooge, but it makes a great deal of sense. And the point is with money, if people don't realize the first and most important thing is that money is not a commodity. It is a relationship. And the way that you show up for it is the way that it is going to show up for you.
Judy Wilkins-Smith is the author of Decoding Your Emotional Blueprint, a powerful guide to transformation through disentangling multi-generational patterns. So, Judy, you're saying that my father, is of that generation where maybe had a little bit tucked underneath in his mattress.
Yep.
Was very fiscally sound, didn't take many risks with his involvement, may have the first nickel he ever owned. Am I apt then to be just like him? Or because he may, as Mary mentioned, maybe was a little stingy with his money, could I possibly be at the other end of the spectrum saying, man, I'm going to spend it as soon as I get it because my dad didn't enjoy his money?
So yeah, and that's what you're telling yourself. It's the events that are going to affect how you react. So a big event and suddenly dad hides everything, hoards everything, he's very fiscally sound, but you come along and you go, you know what? I'd really like to invest money. I'd like to be a little wiser. I'd like to live a little larger with money.
Yep.
And so instead of being the one who's just doing this, you suddenly start to interact with money. You want to understand how it works. You become financially literate, and you become perhaps a little less risk averse. But you also want to ask yourself, if dad was like that, what happened to his father or his father's father? What was the big money event in the family that triggered this is the way it is?
Amazing.
So, yeah, you're starting to talk about this. Once you identify these patterns, once we kind of think about it, I mean, a lot of things are coming to my mind as you're talking. Then what's the next step to break the patterns? Because I am seeing some of my patterns maybe aren't that great. But I want some hope, and how can I break them? What's the first few steps I could take?
Sure. So what you want to do is you want to write down all of your thoughts, feelings, and actions around money, as it is for you now. I'm scared, I'm tired, of whatever it is. Write down all of the thoughts, all of the feelings, all of the actions. Then look at, is there a familial component? There may or may not be. You may be the one who starts it, but whatever. You're going to look at what you want to stop. And then comes the other intriguing but really important piece. What do you want? What do you want to do with money? Where do you want money to flow? Because it likes to know where to flow. And once you've identified that and you get that nice sort of bubbly feeling and you're going, I want to go and do X, and you're excited about it, and you stay excited about it, and you stay in that space, you're going to pull clear of all of those limiting patterns and start moving in the direction of creating money flow the way that you want to. And so then I would say to you again, write down my thoughts, feelings, and actions about what I want and why it's so important to me, and really, really, really important, use an elevated emotion. So you can't say, I really like it, and your stomach's going, you've got to go all the way and invest in it. You've got to say, I'm doing it, here we go, and move in that direction.
So when you're saying, identify what you want, are you saying to be as specific as I'm not one that wants a lot of fancy cars or anything like that. I would like to travel, be specific, and I want to send my daughters to college, and I don't know what it is, but are you saying actually be specific to what you want to buy?
Yeah, when we say specific, there's a reason for that. When you are specific, you start to become emotionally involved with it. You start to connect with what it is that you want. So you want to travel. Travel is, okay, I'm going to go down the road. Yay, I traveled. No, exactly where do you want to go, and how does that feel? When you engage that emotion, you're set to travel in that direction.
All right.
Judy Wilkins-Smith, author of Decoding Your Emotional Blueprint, powerful guide to transformation through disentangling multi-generational patterns. Her website, judywilkins-smith.com. Judy, thank you so much. I'm going to read the book.
Me too.
I totally want to read this book. I also want to come back after this. Much more with The Big Biz.
Loft 100 Studios, The Big Biz Show, our affiliates, and our hosts are not registered investment advisors or broker-dealers.
Our show hosts make no commitment that the purchase of securities of companies profiled or otherwise mentioned in our programming
are suitable or advisable for any persons, or that investment in such securities would be profitable in general.
Given the nature of our company's profile and the lack of an active trading market for their securities, and investing is highly speculative and carries a high degree of risk. We profile selected publicly traded and privately held companies on our program.
Most of these companies that we profile have provided compensation to Loft 100 Studios and its host for the profile coverage.
3, 2, 1. From time to time, we sell shares of the companies profiled in the open market that we receive as compensation for coverage of client companies.
But never sell stock if we are speaking about, interviewing, or covering a public company who has paid compensation.
Specific questions on compensation can be obtained by contacting producer at sullyandgroup.com.
Listeners should verify all claims and do their own due diligence before investing in any securities mentioned on this program.
Investing in securities is speculative and carries a high degree of risk.
We encourage our investors to invest carefully. Duh.
And read the investor information available on the website.
On the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, at www.sec.
Or the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, FINRA, at www.finra.org.
Big Biz Show rolls on. We are inside the Loft 100 studios here. Sunny Southern California. Of course, that is the Day Trader Trio. Back here at the bar is Costumer Godwin, our executive producer, Greg Todorov, and of course, Sully.
Good to see you. You're the one who brought up GLP-1 first to this group. How did you find out about this? Because now everywhere I turn, all I do is I hear about Wegovy or Saxenda or trizipatide or something.
I think the first place I heard it was seeing a bunch of celebrities online, go like Oprah and Amy Schumer, I think. Just a lot of celebrities that all of a sudden were skinny mini. And it was like, what is going on? And then the words Ozempic and GLP-1s just started to
well,
blow
each
up
one has like a musical production commercial and all that stuff.
Right.
We have learned more about this because our friend Mitch Steiner, Dr. Mitch Steiner, is the chairman, CEO, president, and founder of a company called Veru. VERU is their stock symbol. And, GLP-1 drugs like Wegovy and Ozempic, and I think it's Mounjaro, is the latest one, are pretty effective. But 1 of every 3 adults is taking these drugs to lose weight. But apparently there's some adverse effects. Mitch is here to talk about that again, what these guys are. And Mitch, good to see you. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on the show again.
Did you talk about last time the biggest issue is muscle loss or something like that? Was that the major thing?
Yeah, see, here's the problem. GLP-1s work, and they cause you to lose a lot of weight. But the problem with the weight that you're losing is about 40% of it turns out to be lean mass or muscle. So, you don't get points for losing muscle, you get points for losing fat. And so that's one of the big problems. And the way it works, it tells your brain to stop eating. And the way you would act in the wild, in the natural surroundings, when you have low calories, is your body starts to lose fat and muscle almost indiscriminately. So that's where we come in at Veru, because we have a drug called enobosarm. And what it's doing is telling the GLP-1, after it tells the brain to stop eating, it's telling the body to leave muscle alone and work only on fat. So if you think about it, you want a weight reduction drug to be a drug that gets rid of fat and not gets rid of muscle. And enobosarm in combination with GLP-1, any GLP-1, will have a capability. And we know that from our phase 2B study that we did in 168 patients that showed that we're able to hold on to lean mass, burn more fat, get to basically the same weight loss and preserve function. So that's what I call the next generation of weight loss drugs. It's how do you make weight loss drugs that we currently have better.
Dr. Mitchell Steiner, Chairman, CEO, President, Founder of Veru Incorporated, ticker symbol VERU. So, Dr. Steiner, let me get this straight. It doesn't matter how much protein and maybe pure protein you are eating while taking these others. you're still going to lose the muscle mass.
Yes, I mean, so the things that you can actively do is eat protein. Protein doesn't do much if you don't exercise. And the exercise you want to do is resistance exercise, build muscle. You want to try to build that muscle and stop from losing it. But the problem is that's a lot of work.
Yep.
And you're trying to fight a very powerful weight loss drug that is making you lose both. But if you don't have anything out there, and right now there's nothing available except exercise and eating protein, then you want drugs like enobosarm that can be given in combination with GLP-1 that tells the muscle, stay put, burn more fat, and help you along in your weight loss journey. Because that's what it is. It's about losing weight in a healthy fashion. And a healthy fashion means not losing lean mass.
Hey, Mitch, talk about the results. As we're looking up here at the screen here, we're looking at the arc of the story for the FDA. I'm assuming since all of these drugs that you work in concert with, and this just augments these drugs, is that going to make it any easier for you guys to get through FDA that way? Because it's kind of an addition to what's already out there?
Well, the good news is the addition that's already out there. There's really only two major drugs that are approved. You mentioned Monjovi and Zepbound. They're the same drug, and Ozempic and Wegovy are the same drug. It just depends whether you're using diabetes or weight loss. So essentially, there are two drugs on the market for weight loss. So yes, we would include both those drugs in our phase 3 program to go through the FDA. So it's not like you have to have 170 of them, for example. So those are the two market leaders. They both show a detriment in lean mass and while they're burning fat. And what you see on this slide is basically the two programs, two parts to the trial that we're running. First part's done. I've already talked about that, where we showed we can preserve muscle and burn more fat and preserve function. And by the way, we did show that in patients on Wegovy, that the patients on the placebo, meaning not on enobosarm, but Wegovy alone, did have about 42.6% of them had a decline in stair climb power. So it matters. That lean mass being lost does affect function. The second part of that chart shows what the data that's coming out this quarter, and that is what happens when you stop with GLP-1. So the problem people are having is they're realizing they get to a certain weight loss, and then I want to hold there, and then they stop the GLP-1, and they get their weight back and fat regain, almost to a point where they started. So people are very upset. They spend all this time to lose the weight, and it comes back on. So the second part of the study is to see whether enobosarm, by leaving lean mass alone, could it stop that fat regain? And as I said, that data will come out this quarter.
Is it administered? Is it a pill that you take along with the GLP-1 shots?
Yes, the shots you take once a week, and this is a pill they take once a day.
And, there's a couple different, sections of the population that take these GLP-1s. One are, like you mentioned, diabetes patients, then also maybe, let's say, morbidly obese and obese Americans or people. And then also there's just kind of maybe for vanity metrics, people that maybe need to lose just a little bit of weight, but they want to look really thin in their bikini. So this goes with all of those usages,
That's
correct?
Right. That's right. So the problem is, no matter whether you're diabetic, whether you're overweight, or whether you have obesity, you're losing weight indiscriminately in terms of the tissue type. And the two major tissues is muscle, lean, and fat. And so that affects all those populations. So theoretically, it could be beneficial for any population who wants to maintain lean mass and burn more fat. But where we're going initially is to focus only on in combination with weight loss.
Mitch, it's interesting that you talked about doing resistance training during this and having this help with preserving muscle. Is there currently that kind of protocol when they prescribe these drugs now? To these folks? Do they encourage that type of things? I've never heard that before.
Absolutely. And the patient population you're most concerned about are the older patients, because as you age, you lose muscle. You lose about 1.5% of your lean mass per year over the age of 60. You lose about the same percentage of power, like going upstairs and walking and strength. And so if you already have a low muscle mass to begin with, and now you take a drug where you lose, it's about a pound of fat you lose about a pound of muscle, or lean to be more specific. So you can keep losing all the fat. You see bodybuilders, you can get really chiseled, but you can't get chiseled the opposite. Hold on to the fat, get rid of all the muscle, you'll be dead. So you get no points for losing lean mass. So yes, the label for Wegovy and Zepbound do mention that, you should try and maintain, important protein and exercise. But unfortunately, it's just not done as often as we'd like. And in older patients, if they're already behind the 8 ball with less muscle to begin with, and just happen to have less muscle because of age, and they happen to be superimposed with obesity, that's a danger. And that's the patient population everybody agrees should be the focus of making sure that they get the GLP-1 in a safe way.
Dr. Mitchell Steiner is the chairman, CEO, president, and founder of Veru Incorporated. Their ticker symbol is VERU. Dr. Steiner, always appreciate the visit. That's good stuff. All right. You might be losing weight out there, but you're never going to lose us. The Big Biz Show. It's coming right back. Keep it here. No rider. Try the clams. Stick your weight. 5 countries, all the ships at sea on the American Forces Network. As always, a thank you to the brave men and women of the United States Armed Forces. A thank you to the DTT, best in the business back here at the bar. Costa, Mary Godwin, Greg Todorov, and of course, Sully.
How are we doing today?
We're doing well.
Market's coming back.
Yeah.
You see the market kind of rally again after our 1 month swoon. Everybody thought, this is
over.
Well, I tell people, when the Dow was down to, I forget what it was, 70-something hundred back in the Great Recession. And now it's 35,000. Boy, that was a deal back then, right?
Sure.
It means it's a deal now, right? If you go forward and start taking a look. I mean, markets probably tend to do that stuff. Jeffrey Meckler is our next guest, CEO of Indaptus, one of my favorite guys. He was in studio. Unfortunately, he's not in studio today. He's via Zoom, but their stock symbol INDP, clinical stage biotech company that's kind of marching forward here. Meckler, what are you doing? They're big fella. Good to talk to you again.
Good to see you. How are you, Chief?
I talked to him twice this morning. I can't get enough of this guy. He's our next co-host on the program. Hey, give us an overview again for the folks that didn't see you last time on what you guys are up to over there.
Sure. So Indaptus Therapeutics, we're developing a therapy that's based on gram-negative bacteria. Essentially, it's a package of immune activators, and it really kind of revs up the immune system. So we've been in clinical trials looking at solid tumors in cancer. And what we're excited about, we announced just recently, we're getting ready to ramp up and start our combination study with B1. They have a PD-1 inhibitor, and in preclinical models, this is what has worked best. So this is our best shot at seeing how this therapy will work in humans.
Talk about the therapy specifically. Who's the target patient, and what's kind of the adoptable market here worldwide at this point?
So the clinical trial right now is really going after that, salvage patient, as you'd call it. But the really addressable market here is really anyone in these solid tumors that current therapies that do work, like PD-1s, often only work in 1 out of 4 patients. The idea is by adding this therapy, you're kind of ramping up the immune system so other immunotherapies could work more efficiently. To give you an idea, this is $100 billion+ market, and these are millions of cancer patients just worldwide. So it's pretty large. Where we're starting right now is really very narrowly focused in this clinical trial. We're going to do about 6 different tumor types, and we're just looking to see, is it tolerable, and do we see any efficacy signals?
Jeff Meckler, CEO, Indaptus Therapeutics, their ticker symbol INDP, proudly from the Ohio State University. Oh, by the way, 14 players taken in this past weekend's NFL draft, Jeff. Another feather in your cap.
Well, I'm just a little worried about what the team's going to look like this fall, but it's great for the kids that are going on to the next level.
Pretty awesome stuff. Hey, as far as Indaptus is concerned, in layman's terms, are you helping our immune system or the immune system become a better fighter against the tumor?
Yeah, I mean, the way to think about it is as tumors grow, they send out signals that tell the immune system not to attack it.
Okay.
And what we do is kind of fake out the immune system. We call it decoy. And the decoy technology basically makes the body think it is being attacked, even though it's a safe therapy. And what we're trying to do is then reset it so it really looks at. That's a great diagram to show there are all these different ways the immune system can attack the tumor, either through the innate or the adaptive. What we do is really prime all these different ways where current immunotherapies really only work on one or two of those cellular pathways.
I think those are also all the new marshmallow shapes in Lucky Charms. Mistaken. Go ahead.
Okay, those Easter peeps, pieces of the peeps that you didn't finish.
Let's bring it back to the rails. But okay, so I just lost my train of thought. I started thinking about Lucky Charms, and I was thinking about the fact that I was in New York and I went to one of the pizza places that you told me to go to.
Oh, wow.
So can you use this decoy technology? Is it used in conjunction with chemotherapy, radiation, and or all the other treatments that cancer patients are getting, or would this be a standalone?
So we think commercially this is not a standalone type of therapy. We've seen some monotherapy activity in preclinical models, but the real eye-opening data was in combination with, as you mentioned, radiation, chemo, targeted antibodies, immuno checkpoint therapies. We see all sorts of different types of combinations. Right now, the real key is to let it, put it into a combination trial and see if we see that activity. As I said before, we've done a whole series of cohorts in monotherapy, and we haven't really seen the efficacy signal in monotherapy. We expect to see that in the combination therapy.
Hey, Jeff, as this thing gets developed and you go through clinical trials and NDA, the whole thing, will you have a bigger biotech firm come and take this thing from the 5-yard line into the goal line, or will you guys go take this to marketability yourself?
I think that if we show efficacy, we have to hand it off to someone who has that infrastructure built. We're really a virtual company. We're 7 employees. And to really do a full phase 3, pivotal clinical trial, that requires infrastructure that would take too long for us to build. And the goal is move as fast as possible.
Jeff, I know there's only certain things you can talk about as a CEO of a publicly held company, but is that a situation where are there people already hovering, looking at you guys, or are you fending people off right now? How does that go for you?
So you're always talking to other companies. Okay. You're at the same type of scientific conferences. Right. We're presenting data and the like. It's the right moment, the right time, and that's really just a matter of getting the data you need to then show the inflection that it's worth more to someone else than it is you.
What's next for you guys for the rest of this year and the next 18 months? What's on the horizon as far as...
The big thing is getting some patients dosed in the combination therapy. Of course, we need to fund that trial and looking at how we can fundraise here. But that's really the key. This year is all about, if you go and look at some of our prior presentations, the year of 2023 was all about really getting the single dose monotherapy trial done. 24 was all about the weekly dosing in monotherapy. 25 has been all about gearing up to do combination therapy and really see if we have an efficacy signal.
Mike Meckler, always good to have you here. We got to get you in town sooner than later.
One of our best guests.
Plus, he's going to be a co-host at some point.
He really is. Yeah, I'm not going to let my seat get too hot. Jeff Meckler.
Stones in the background. What more could you want?
CEO Indaptus Therapeutics, ticker symbol INDP. All right, keep it here. There's much more to come on the Big Biz Show. Don't go anywhere.